Hello, Fulbright awardees who are going to Eurasia. My name is Carol Silverman, and I'm a professor of folklore and cultural anthropology at the University of Oregon, and we're delighted to be able to present to you some Balkan folk music. I am a member of a band called Slavej, which means nightingale, and we've prepared a virtual performance and a kind of lecture demo for you to acquaint you with music from Southeastern Europe, that's the Balkans, because they are a very, very rich collection of songs, music, dances, and cultural celebrations that you will likely be exposed to in your travels. In the entire region of Eurasia, music is really important. Young people, old people, every generation of people are interested in music, and folk music really informs even popular forms of music today. But older forms of folk music still exist in wedding celebrations, in other life cycle celebrations, in calendrical celebrations such as Saints' Days for Eastern Orthodox people and the end of Ramadan for Muslim people. So in general, music is interwoven in life today in Eurasia and especially in the Balkans. Now, we are focusing on the Balkans because it's a really interesting area for the combination of Eastern and Western influences. From the East, we have Ottoman influences because the whole area of Southeastern Europe was ruled by the Ottoman Turks for 500 years. And we have melismatic melodies that have a lot of ornamentation, one syllable being sung on many notes. We have modal scales that are different from Western scales. And we have additive rhythms that are in combinations of threes and twos, such as 3-2-2, which could be clapped 1-2-3, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2-3, 1-2, 1-2, adding up to 7. You'll hear quite a bit of that in our music. We also have influences from the West, lots of harmonies in thirds and in fifths, and instruments from the West that you'll see us playing, clarinet, accordion, trumpet, but also instruments from the Balkans and further east, such as a two-headed drum called a davul or tapan that you'll see in our ensemble. I'd like to introduce you to the members of our ensemble. We are all Americans who have learned Balkan music through either studying abroad or listening very careful to recordings. And my husband, Mark Levy, is playing clarinet. He is a retired professor of ethnomusicology from the University of Oregon, and he also founded the East European Folklife Center. Should you be interested in learning any of this kind of music, there are many places in America where you can actually go to camps and seminars and learn the music, the dance, and the singing. And many of those are sponsored by the EEFC, East European Folklife Center, which he founded. You can find that online. One of Mark's students is Cody Simmons, who was in Mark Levy's band at the University of Oregon and established his own brass band here in Eugene, and he's playing trumpet with us. And then we have our two colleagues in Seattle, David Bilides, who is of Greek American origin and is playing the tapan, the two-headed drum, and is equally proficient in a number of instruments. I'll talk about those later. For us, he's playing drum. And our last member is Michael Lawson, a accordionist extraordinaire, and he will also be singing for you. So he's an excellent vocalist. Now, you're going to be seeing instruments that are Western instruments, except for the tapan, the two-headed drum, but there are also village instruments in the Balkans that you won't see that are still being played today. Things like a vertically held fiddle and a flute instrument, and many others. But our band in this version will be playing more in the modern style of Balkan music. However, when I introduce the song text, you'll be struck immediately that there's a lot of references to rural village life of 50, 100 years ago. And through the songs, you can actually learn a lot about village and traditional culture. So there are gender relationships to unpack. There are male and female age differences. There are expected roles for the elderly and the children. And another important thing is the relationship of agriculture and the herding of animals to the economy. Because before the 20th century and urbanization, the entire region was agricultural and had a herding economy for goats and sheep. So all of that is reflected in the song text. So as we go through our songs, I'll be introducing each one. We want you to enjoy the music. We also want you to learn something. And when you're in the region during your Fulbright, you will probably go to a wedding or a baptism for a Christian family or a celebration of a circumcision for a Muslim family, and you might be pulled into the dance line. So all of this music we're doing will be dance music, and we encourage you to explore it on your own as well. Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Carol Silverman, and we'd like to present to you a wedding song from Bulgaria, from the southern province of Thrace. And this is an interesting song, first of all, because of its context. Weddings in Bulgaria tend to be really big with a lot of relatives and friends, and sometimes they're outside on the street, and they bring the community together and they bring the family together. And music and dancing go on for hours and hours. So this song would be sung in a series of songs. Usually there are a professional band and a wedding singer or two or three, and people often know the words and make requests. So people are very involved in their folk music. Now, this song offers the opportunity to kind of interpret Bulgarian history plus a love story. The song refers to the Ottoman period, actually the period of rebellion against the Ottomans. Bulgaria was ruled by the Ottomans for 500 years, like most of the southern Balkans, and there were rebel battalions that were gathered in the mountains to fight off the Turks to inspire independence, okay? And many of these were young men who were very, very brave. So the song starts out actually as a kind of tension between a battalion leader and his desire to see his girlfriend. So he's in the mountains and he's saying, because of you, her name is Grozdana, because of you, Grozdana, I left the Stara Planina, that's the name of a mountain in Thrace, with 70 of my men, my heroes, and even 7 more. They were all very faithful. And I left because of you, because if you would only turn around once and lift your veil, I would see your face, to see if you are fair, if your eyes are dark, and to see if they suit me. Now, she answers him in metaphors, which is very common in Bulgarian music, where a woman's eyes are compared to something in nature or her mouth. In this case, my face is like a carnation, she says. My eyes are like cherries. My eyebrows are like braids. And those braids actually refer to the kind of woolen braiding that appears on the costume of the region. But, she says, even if you're suited to me, I'm already engaged to somebody else. My mother engaged me, and she even exchanged rings. Now, this, of course, refers to arranged marriages, which were very common in the Balkans and in other traditional societies 50, 100 years ago, and even today in some ethnic groups of the region. And usually, the songs depict something either horrible or wonderful. So you hear the worst thing about arranged marriages or the best thing about how you outsmarted them and got to marry your boyfriend from when you were 5 years old who lives next door. In this case, my mother exchanged rings and never even asked me. She engaged me to a handsome boy. He's very handsome, but he's not in my heart. So the implication is that she would like to marry this battalion leader, but because of respect for the elderly, she has to go along with her parents' wishes. Zaradi tebe, Grozdana.
Zaradi tebe, Grozdano, stara planina napusna. Zaradi tebe, Grozdano, stara planina napusna. Stara planina napusna. Sasidin deset junaka, sasidin deset sedem, Svadbeni mladi momčeta. Barem sevek naš obrni, pjalo ljubenči povdigni. Barem sevek naš obrni, pjalo ljubenči povdigni. Lice to da ti zagledam, lice to ti bjalo lije, oči te ti černi lisa, da li na mene priljagat. Junači mlado Hubavo, moj to je lice trendafil, moj te za oči čereši, moj te za veždi gajtani. Ala me mama vodila, vodila prasten zmenila, vodila prasten zmenila, zmenila pak ne pitala. Mene me mama godila za jedno momče Hubavo. Mene me mama godila za jedno momče Hubavo. Momče to beše Hubavo, ala ne mi je na srce. Momče to beše Hubavo, ala ne mi je na srce.
Hi. Next, we'd like to play for you Svadbeni Čoček, which means wedding dance, and it's in Romani style. Roma refer to quote, gypsies of the region. They call themselves Roma, so I will refer to them as Roma. And they are a group that are originally from India that came into the Balkans around the 1400s. And even back then, we have evidence that Roma were musicians. So they've been professional musicians in the Balkans for centuries, occupying a really important place, so that there are proverbs, for example, in Balkan languages that say, a wedding isn't worth anything without Roma musicians. Roma have also been important in other parts of the service economy, in metalwork, basket work, horse stealing. But unfortunately, even though they were integrated into the economy, as people, they have been despised. So the levels of prejudice and discrimination against Roma are really high even today. And unfortunately, with xenophobia growing in the region, anti-Romani sentiment is also growing, along with police brutality, evictions, many scary phenomenon. But there is a human rights movement that has been spearheaded by Roma and allies to fight this type of prejudice. Now, Roma have been very important as innovators of music in the Balkans, and one of the important genres that they composed and created is called Čoček. And Čoček refers not only to the music we're going to hear, but also to the dance. It could either be a line dance or more often a solo dance, a specialty of women, especially younger women before marriage, where they use body isolation, shimmies, small footwork, belly movements, and so on. And it's actually related to belly dancing in a very modest way, however. So Roma never show any skin or anything like that. Now, in this particular Čoček that you'll hear, there's unison melodies that all the instruments are playing, but at one point, Mark Levy is playing an improvisation called a mane, which is where the soloist shows his or her talent by interpreting the mode in an original way. So you'll hear that as a solo within the Čoček. This model we got from South Serbia from an album called Romske pesme, which is in Serbian meaning Romani songs, that also featured a singer, Trajko Ajdarević Tahir, and the date is approximately 1982. So enjoy Svadbeni Čoček, Romani dance. Hi, welcome back. The next piece performed by Slavej is Zapevala Sojka Ptica, which means the jaybird started to sing. And it's a song from Serbia, and there are also versions from Bosnia. And these are South Slavic languages that are quite closely related. After the Yugoslav wars of the 90s, people claimed that they were separate languages, and now it's been established literary versions of these separate languages. But during the time of Yugoslavia, they were considered the same language, just different dialects. Now, this is a song also about arranged marriage. Earlier, I talked about the range of arranged marriages. The songs in general talk about the worst case scenario where you're being married off, usually from the point of view of a young girl, without desire at all, without romantic love, by the dictates of your parents. But there are also songs about how young people work from within the system to tell their cousin who they like, who tells their parents, who then chooses a partner for them. And in actuality, arranged marriage is a very wide set of practices that go from total arranged marriages to actually young people being involved in picking their partners. In this song, a young woman is having a conversation with a jaybird. And this is also common in the Balkans, where inanimate objects and animals and trees and flowers in nature speak to people and speak the truth, okay? So here, the bird is saying, get up, Kata, her name is Kata, prepare your wedding gifts. And she answers, I'm young, I don't have any wedding gifts. And the bird says, well, why don't you have any wedding gifts if you're being married? And she answers, it's because my mother married me off. I didn't know anything about it. She didn't really ask me or consult with me. Zapevala Sojka Ptica, the bird that is speaking to Kata at dawn.
Zapevala Sojka Ptica.
Hi, welcome back. Slavej would now like to perform for you a medley of tunes from North Bulgaria, near the Romanian border. The first is a song, and Michael Lawson, our singer and accordionist, will be doing double duty on this song, both singing and playing accordion. He learned it from the repertoire of Boris Mashalov. Boris Mashalov lived in the early part of the 20th century. He was born in 1914 and died in 1962, and his songs are still very beloved in Bulgaria. He wrote many of them, and they're widely sung. The song text is quite interesting. It's a kind of sly way of a young man introducing his love concept to a young woman. And he does it like this. He says, Neda, her name is Neda, and his name is Ivan. Neda, won't you ask for me, like introduce me to one of your neighbor girls, somebody in your family? And she said, but which one should I ask? And he said, do I have to really teach you that too? Get up early, Neda, on Sunday and dress yourself in your finest clothes. Now, Sunday is the day that Eastern Orthodox people go to church, and after church, in villages, it was very common to have a village dance or eating together. So this was a way for people to dress up and court each other. So get up early on Sunday, dress in your finest clothes, adorn yourself, fetch water with pots. The watering hole was also a place for young people to gather and to meet each other. Take your pots of water into the garden, place them under the red and white rose bush, and lean over the water pots. And the girl that you see there, the reflection, that's the girl I want you to ask to introduce to me. So all along he was interested in her, but has gone about it in this roundabout way. The second part of the medley is Pleceded Oro, which is a composition by Cvjetko Blagojev, who was an arranger and a multi-instrumentalist in the 1950s. So it's an older style, and he was very important in arranging music and bringing various instruments together. Now, both of these tunes are in the rhythm of 2-2-2-3. That adds up to 9 and is counted 2-2-2-3, 2-2-2-3. So it's a fast 9, and very often it's called a daichevo. Enjoy. Nedo le Nedke and Pleceded Oro.
Nedole Nedke Hubava, ja da mi Nedke pridumaš. Nedole Nedke Hubava, ja da mi Nedke pridumaš. Njaku je tvoja komčika, njaku je vaša rodnina. Njaku je tvoja komčika, njaku je vaša rodnina. Bajno ljubačo Ivane, kujali da ti pridumam. Bajno ljubačo Ivane, kujali da ti pridumam. Kujali naša komšika, kujali naša rodnina. Kujali naša komšika, kujali naša rodnina. Nedole Nedke Hubava, i to li da ta nauča. Nedole Nedke Hubava, i to li da ta nauča. Ja stani rano v nedelja, če sa Hubavo premeni. Ja stani rano v nedelja, če sa Hubavo premeni. Još te na kići, donesi voda s kotlite. Premeni još te na kići, donesi voda s kotlite. Čegivka dinka zanesi, pol bjal červen na trendafil. Čegivka dívka dinka zanesi, polběl červené trindafil. Tamo Nedke zanesi, česat napukni na tepsi. Tamo Nedke zanesi, česat napukni na tepsi. Kuja to mama tam vidiš i neje mi Nedke pridumaj. Kuja to mama tam vidiš i neje mi Nedke pridumaj.
Hi, welcome back to Slavej's performance of Balkan folk music. We'd like to present to you a song, Bolna Ležam, I'm sick and most likely will die. This is a very, very interesting song, not only because of its text, but also because of the singer that I learned it from. She's a very, very famous person in the Balkans and actually all over Eastern Europe and Western Europe too. Her name is Esma Rejepova, and she was the first Romani crossover artist to present Romani music to non-Romani audiences in concert settings. She became a child star at the age of 13 and continued her career into her 70s. She died 4 years ago in 2016 and performed thousands of concerts, many of which were for humanitarian and benefit purposes for unfortunate people, victims of natural disasters. She herself is Romani, and she was the first person as a female artist to actually play on a concert stage, not at weddings, for example, but play in elite stages. And her name is known around the world, and her songs are beloved around the world. Now, she married a Macedonian arranger, an ethnic Macedonian by the name of Stevo Teodosievski, and he helped her arrange songs. He passed away in the mid-90s, and she wrote this song around that time with one of her adopted children. She adopted over 40 young people to mentor them with her husband into musical careers. And many of these people were unfortunate Roma who were either abandoned or orphans or who had families but did not have the means to establish a musical career. And one of her children, Simeon Atanasov, wrote the music to this, and she wrote the text. The text is a very sad song about arranged marriage that we've talked about before. Arranged marriage, again, is a very broad category of marriage arrangements, but in the songs you usually hear the kind of worst version of that. So in this song, a young woman is saying, I'm lying sick and I will die. My heart is crying out. Music is playing for him. That's the one she loves but is not marrying. But my mother and father are weeping for me. Tomorrow is Sunday. It's the blackest day for me. My sweetheart is getting married tonight to my best friend. So insult to insult, not only is he marrying someone else, but he's marrying her best friend. Little angels sing for you, but heavy bells toll for me. You're at church with your bride, but I'm in my grave with my youth. So she's actually dying of unrequited love. Bolna Ležam, Esma Rejepova. Thank you.
Srce ke zaplače. Muzika sviri za nego. Majka plače, tako plače za mene. Stara majko, utre nedela, za mene majčeka je najcrna. Libeto utre mi se venčava, so mojta verna drugarka. Libeto utre mi se venčava, so mojta verna drugarka. Bolna ležam, ke umram. Ova noć, srce ke zaplače. Muzika sviri srce ke zaplače. Muzika sviri za nego. Majka plače, tako plače za mene. Angelčinjak pijat za tebe. Kambani teški pijat za mene. Divo crkva so nevesta. Jaz v grobocov mladosta. Divo crkva so nevesta. Jaz v grobocov mladosta. Bolna ležam, kje umram. Ova noč, srce ke zaplače. Muzika sviri za nego. Majka plače, tako plače za mene. Majka plače, tako plače za mene.
Hi, and welcome back. Next, Slavej will perform for you Pajduško Oro from Macedonia. This is a line dance that means limping dance, and that's because the rhythm is in 2-3, and you kind of move along in your dance steps as if you're limping. The 2 and the 3 add up to 5, but are pretty fast, and they go 1-2-1-2-3, 1-2-1-2-3, 1-2-1-2-3, 1-2-1-2-3, 1-2-1-2-3. Now, this is from an arrangement from 1979 when Macedonia was part of Yugoslavia. It's from a band led by Stevo Teodosievski, who was a band leader, and we'll be hearing about him later on in relation to another song. And the style is pretty much 1970s, 1980s styles with lots of different melodies in a sequence. Enjoy this, Pajduško Oro. Hi, our last song for you is Opa Cupa, and my model recording is from Shaban Bayramovic. Now, Shaban Bayramovic is one of the most famous Romani singers from the Balkans. His songs are beloved all over the Balkans. He wrote hundreds of songs. He was kind of a large-sized character who drank a lot, caroused a lot, was in prison for many, many years. And even in prison, he wrote many songs there as well. And in later years, his songs became so popular that other arrangers used them. Many were used without his permission and became kind of known under other people's names. So we call that today cultural appropriation. So you might hear his melodies under the name of Goran Bregovic today, who actually claims he wrote these tunes, but Shaban Bayramovic actually wrote them. So we should give credit where credit is due. Now, the text of this song is interesting because it's a kind of humorous text. A poor guy is saying, I'm a poor guy, one of the best dancers. The girls are grabbing me to dance, but there's one young woman who just won't dance. She's running away from me. She doesn't want to cooperate, and he's trying to get her to dance. Now, Shaban wrote this song in the Romani language. He is a Rom person. He also wrote many songs in Serbian, but the Romani language is interesting because you can actually trace the history of Roma through their language. So the language has ties to Sanskrit, and that shows that Roma are from India, and they came into the Balkan Peninsula around the 1400s. And as I've mentioned before, they had a tremendous, and still today, have a tremendous influence on folk music. Now, the chorus of the song you might be able to sing along with. It has vocables. These are syllables that don't mean anything but are repeated over and over, like Opa Cupa or Lumbai Lumbai. So you'll hear those words over and over again, and you can sing along. Now, this brings a close to our Slavej performance, and if you have any questions about the music, I'm available via email and through our Canvas site through the Fulbright Orientation. Also, we'll be having synchronous sessions in September with groups that are going to the Balkans, so I'll be available to you anytime in the future. Enjoy.
Meciura manastaren, caste astara, pe mande hasal, samu e ceni mangel, oi mandar nashel. Opa Cupa, so de mandar chaie muca, ciodati mireel, aconicele. Opa Cupa, so de mandar chaie muca, ti dai camireel, aconicele. Lumbai, lumbai, lumbai la, aide, 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 lumbai, lumbai, lumbai la, aide, 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 lumbai, lumbai, lumbai la, aide, 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 lumbai, lumbai, lumbai la, aide, aide, aide. Mandale, mudarela odevel, Amarujo avakil, paituru mekale, dale mandale, esfira chabashalem. Opa Cupa, so de mandar chaye muka, chodati mirel, akonichele. Opa Cupa, so de mandar chaye muka, ti dai kamerel, akonichele. Lumba, lumba, lumba la, aide, 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 lumba, lumba, lumba la, aide, 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 lumba, lumba, lumba la, aide, 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 lumba, lumba, lumba la, aide, aide, aide. Saučaja kilina, ai užal norovela, dale mandale, a novogia carel. Saučaja kilina, ai užal norovela, dale mandale, a novogia carel. Opa Cupa, so de mandar chaye muka, chodati mirel, akonichele. Opa Cupa, so de mandar chaye muka, ti dai kamerel, akonichele. Lumba, lumba, lumba la, aide, 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 lumba, lumba, lumba la, aide, 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 lumba, lumba, lumba la, aide, 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 lumba, lumba, lumba la, aide, aide, aide.